Hello, this is DrSayus, and today I will be reviewing Splinter Cell Blacklist. Now, the Wii U version, in my opinion, is probably the definitive version. Technical wise, no, it's not. I read on Digital Foundry all the games run smoothly at about 30 frames per second. The Wii U one drops to 20 frames whenever action gets quite chaotic, but it makes up for that with the gamepad controls. I find when you're not using the touch controls, it's a bit cumbersome pressing all the buttons to switch your weapons and all your gadgets that you have. The gamepad has like multiple compartments for all your gadgets and like free your guns and such. If you want to switch to a certain gadget, you just have to press it. Splinter Cell is a stealth action game. It's a waiting man's game. Even on the easiest difficulty, you'll find yourself waiting for the AI controlled enemy to walk in a certain direction or like turn his back so you can go up and kill him. If you're looking for a fast-paced action game, this isn't really for you, to be honest. Now, they do give you three types of play styles, but really they only encourage one or two. The one that gives you the least amount of points at the end is Assault, which is running and gunning everywhere. But I found even on the easiest difficulty, I find it very hard to play like this, especially when you're doing the side quests. The most optimal way to play this game is the Panther style, which is sneaking and killing people stealthily. This gives you like a lot more points in Assault. And then finally have Ghost, which is the hardest one. The more enemies you sneak past, the more points you get. So that will give you the most points. However, it's the hardest one to pull off. And I actually found out it doesn't give you that much more points than Panther. So you don't really need to do Ghost if you don't want to. This is actually the last game in the series. And I felt when I played the game, I was expected to know the story and the characters. And as this is the first one I played, it wasn't. With that said, I still find the story engaging. It's your typical they're, I don't know what they are, CIA, and they have to like stop the terrorists, things like that. They're a secret government organization. The biggest issue of this game was the long loading times. It takes over a minute to get into the hub. When you select the level, it'll take like another minute. So this issue isn't really existent on the other consoles. The game runs at 720p. I didn't notice this because the visuals all looked very sharp and it looked very realistic. Apparently you can download extra texture packs on the PS3 and 360 versions, but I didn't see any problems with the Wii U. I thought it was very well done. Now, unlike those versions, the Wii U uses VSync, which does make things look a little bit smoother. However, because of this, more action-oriented areas, the frames will drop to 20 frames per second. As a result, I found out combat in these sections to be quite raw and very sluggish. It didn't feel natural to have an all-out assault against the enemies. I had a lot more success just going around stealthily killing them. You could tell this game, the side quests were made for multiplayer. The main campaign, you can only play one player on the Wii U version, and then for the side quests, you can play people online, but there's no chance of that happening. With the other versions, you can play split screen, which I would have loved, but realistically, they had to make some sort of compromise with the Wii U version. The game's HUD is very confusing. Whenever you start this game, it's a bit overwhelming, particularly as myself, I never played the game before. Like, what do you upgrade? Do you upgrade your gadgets? Do you upgrade your guns? I ended up focusing on upgrading my stealth first, as this is a stealth game, so it made sense to me to do that. And then I upgraded the sonar, so it's pretty much anything that worked towards stealth. The sonar goggles are really useful in this game. I know that the night vision was a staple in all the games, but it really just seems tacked on in this version. You could play the whole game no problem without night vision. I used it like for a few seconds, one or two times in a particularly dark area to see where I was going, but really the sonar would do a decent job with that as well. I don't know why it was included. I never used it really, but it's there if you want to use it. That's a good thing about this game, it gives you options. The side quests, they're split into the three play styles. So the Ghost missions are from the Sensible Grim, the Panther missions are from the Warrior Briggs, and the Assault missions are from the Man-Child Charlie, which makes sense because they're shite. I enjoyed all of this game except for Charlie's missions. Now, Charlie's a wee bit irritating me, kind of grows on me, but his missions are awful. Like, I didn't even like playing his missions. what you have to do is, it's just like waves and waves of enemies and you're in like sort of one area. It doesn't really encourage you to hide because it's very hard to kill people stealthily due to the amount of enemies being thrown at you in this confined space. But whenever you're firing back at them, you feel like an overwhelming disadvantage. You only really feel as strong as one of them, and then if there's more than one, you're pretty much screwed. I take it the side quests were designed for online multiplayer. I'm guessing that would have made it a bit easier, but even if my upgrades at the end of the game, I had to play these on rookie and I tried to get rid of them as fast as possible. You get a lot of gadgets in the game, but for the sake of the review, I'm only going to talk about the ones you start off with. You get a sticky noise maker, which doesn't work half the time. Maybe the enemies are deaf, but you can throw it right beside an enemy and it doesn't work. Other times it will work. That tended to be the gadget I used the most because it lets you distract the enemies without alerting them. Next, there was the smoke grenade. I only really found this useful if I was caught and I had to run away. The least useful out of the three was the sticky camera, mainly because I couldn't get it working most of the time. What you had to do is you threw it on the ground and hope that it was facing in the right direction you wanted to. You're able to track enemies over and use sleeping gas on them, but it was a bit cryptic to use. But again, you don't have to use it, it's there if you want to use it. One of the most useful abilities in this game is the sonar vision. I found myself using the sonar vision quite a lot throughout the game. It's good if you're like hiding behind a wall to see if there's any enemies. It sees through walls and it highlights enemies, and also it highlights mines on the ground. Now I know on the hardest mode you can't see through walls of it, but you're not going to play this on the hardest mode unless you've played through this game. This game's actually really difficult. I recommend, if you haven't played this game before, there's no shame playing this game on rookie because it's still quite difficult. And do the main story first because the main story is more forgiving than the side quests. And then if you find it's too easy, you can put it up to normal. But you'll probably find it gets a bit easier at the end of the game and you get all your upgrades, but it starts off pretty rough. But which I like difficulty in my games. You'll find in the main story there's a few empty bins lying around each level and you can toss enemies into the bin. But I find it a bit daft because the bins are wide open, so all an enemy has to do is walk right up to it and look into the bin. But apparently no, once you throw it in the bin, that's it, the enemy can't see it. Because I actually had an enemy that was right beside the bin and he didn't even notice. They notice things that you wouldn't expect them to notice, like if you hit like a body in like a really shadowy area. Usually it will hide them, but occasionally it won't. I find the most reliable method was to just grab a body and chuck it off a cliff. They never see it. They never see it once you chuck it off a cliff. And thankfully there's plenty of those lying around. All your guns are silent weapons, which promotes the idea of being a stealth game. You can either buy guns which make noise or you can pick up enemies' guns, but it's not really recommended because you want to go around stealthily. Unless you're really bad at stealth, you'll want to use the silent guns to give you an advantage. And when you pick up the enemy's guns, they barely have any bullets, so I didn't find that useful. The three guns that you start off with, you have a silent pistol. It's reliable, it does the job. You have a machine gun, which is probably the best one because you can just kill an enemy quickly without anyone else noticing. And then you have the stun gun, which is the gun that you have if you have used your other two guns. You can one-shot people and knock them out, but sometimes it's a bit hard to hit people with it, so if you miss, it takes like a few seconds before you can fire another one, and that can leave you wide open. I didn't use it too much. There's one or two occasions in the game whenever you have to act as a sniper before Sam drops down. You have the gamepad and it shows a top-down view because you're on a helicopter and you can zoom in and see like soldiers walking on the ground, and like your job is to snipe those soldiers without being noticed. So I really like those sections because you have to use like the gyro to move the reticle about. Now it's not 100% accurate, but it's fun. I like innovative stuff like that. It's actually given the gamepad a use. You also use the gamepad. You can buy like a drone which can be used to scout the area. I didn't really use it too much, but if you want to take a methodical approach, it should be very useful. I noticed when you're controlling the drone on the gamepad, the frame rate takes like a nosedive, like it sort of flickers. I'm not sure whether that is intentional or not because it's kind of realistic, because if you were controlling a drone, like the reception would sort of flicker a wee bit, like it wouldn't be 100% perfect where you can just control the drone without any issues. So I actually like that retouch. The game actually gives you full camera control. Now usually whenever you are given camera control, you move the camera and it'll get stuck on a wall, or it won't let you pan a full 360. But I found with this game, anywhere I was able to pan the camera full 360 degrees and it was smooth. There was no issues with it, so that was amazing. You can change the difficulty in the main story mode. Say if the game's a bit too easy for you at this point, you can increase the difficulty and it'll say you have to restart at the last checkpoint for this to happen. I find that quite useful because I tend to be someone who kind of fluctuates on difficulty. If something's too easy or too hard, I want to change it. So I actually like this. Unfortunately, you can't do this on the side quests. It's probably because they're built around multiplayer, those side quests, even though I can't use the multiplayer, but whatever. The missions in this game last quite a long time. You're not able to save like halfway through a mission. Some missions took me like an hour or maybe like a few hours, but that was because I put it on really high difficulty. If you're going to play this game, I recommend you have a lot of time, because you don't want to play like halfway through the level and then you run out of time and you have to turn it off and then you have to do it all over again next time. I noticed that in the main story, whenever you reach a new checkpoint, the door locks behind you, which kind of sucks because sometimes you'll get spotted right away and you want to retreat back and you can't. The door's locked, so you're pretty much screwed. I understand why the game's doing that. They're locking that off because they don't want to render that part of the level anymore. Again, it's a minor nitpick. It just breaks a bit of the illusion of the freedom. Some of the controls I found are a bit clunky. Like, you press the same button to open the doors what you would to climb a wall. Sometimes it would say close door and you press it and it would climb the wall, and then vice versa. Or it's the same button to pick up a gun or a corpse, which is particularly annoying because when you kill an enemy, they'll drop their gun right beside them. So then whenever you press the button to pick up the corpse to hide it, it picks up the gun. It's like, no, I don't want this. Get it away. I wish they had to use different buttons for that. Whenever you're looking for cover, sometimes you can press A and your character will run to the new cover. I found some places you couldn't do that, and I'm not sure why. There is some glitches in the game. Now, they're not game breaking by any means, but they do kind of make you have to restart the level, but they weren't too frequent. I would say on average maybe about one glitch every 2 levels or so I came across, but they're small glitches. One glitch though, the only glitch that really pissed me off in this game, was there was this level where it was an optional thing to do. You run over the lasers and then you activate a laptop. Now I did this the first time, and then you press a button to turn off the lasers, but then if you go back into the level again, you do this again, the button's not there anymore because it's remembered that you've hacked the laptop from your last playthrough. Now that sounds good on paper because like, oh, it's remembered I've done this, I don't have to do it again. But usually most games you would expect to have to do it again, so that's what I did, and then I had no way to exit the lasers, so I had to just get hit by the lasers and restart the level, which was annoying because I got a good way through the level and I was actually going to beat the level, and it was a very difficult level at that, and I had to do it again. Sometimes it felt the enemies in this game had either visual or hearing issues. There was one time I was just hiding behind cover and the enemies were just like walking right beside me, and they looked in my direction and they were literally standing right beside me where I was crouched, and they didn't see me, and then they walked directly in front of me like where this webcam would be, and they looked at me and they didn't see me. Now it doesn't happen too often, but it's a bit odd to see. And then whenever you do things like get like a body and you throw it on the floor and there's an enemy at like really close, they don't even hear it. They don't hear your steps either. Well, I suppose it makes sense if you upgrade your stealth, because that's what I did. Maybe that's why I didn't hear my steps, but I could hear my steps, so it was a bit weird. But overall, Splinter Cell Blacklist, I really did enjoy this one. It's a bit of a hard one to give a score because although I really enjoyed the game, it has issues that I could see putting a lot of people off. Like the loading times are very long. There's a bit of issue with the frame rate whenever it gets too chaotic. It's a bit overwhelming for someone who's just starting the game. Like, it doesn't really tell you what to do, which is good or bad, I suppose. And then of course there's a few glitches as well, but what it does right It's a brilliant stealth game. It gives you so many options of how you're going to complete the level. The enemy AI for the most part is very intelligent. They're not just mindless idiots. You could lure them by whistling at them. You could sneak past all of them without them even knowing you were there. You could gun them all down. You could play with their minds using the noisemaker and all that there. It gives you a lot of options, a lot of freedom that a lot of games don't let you do. I would give Splinter Cell Blacklist an A. I'm going to use this score as a sort of medium around all the consoles because there's issues that the others have, the Wii U doesn't have, and then there's issues that the Wii U one has that the others don't have. It is one of my favourite games on the Wii U, right up there with Resident Evil Revelations and Zombie U. You probably never heard any other reviewers say that those are their three favourite Wii U games. You'd probably expect them to be Mario or Zelda, but not in this case. Hello guys, hope you're having a fantastic day. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more videos. Bye!